In this bamboo rod building video, we're going to focus on bundling and heat treatment. The bundling or binding step is basically taking the bamboo strips that we have rough planed to equilateral triangles in previous episodes, bundling them together into the assembled order of this rod, binding together with a cotton binding cord, basically forming a clamp on the bundled sections with the binding cord. The heat treatment step will accomplish a few things. Number one, it's going to give our rod the strength. Number two, it's going to give our rod some color. And number three, it's going to straighten and marry these sections together. There are various binding methods, binding machines, binders to accomplish this task. I've used a few, made a few myself, and I go back to one of the simplest methods all the time, and that is I just take an old Penn saltwater fishing reel, load it up with the cotton binding cord, and I find that this is the best way to load or bind your rod sections. You can use the drag on the reel to set the tension exactly how you want as you're moving through the rod sections, and it makes a much bigger difference in final rod assembly after final planing when you're working with very fine tip sections. So we'll go ahead and move through the binding section in preparation for the heat treatment. Got some half hitches attached to the bundled section now. I'm going to simply start to roll it on. The tension set on my reel. Roll it on, starting with some tightly bound sections, and then I'm going to start giving a little bit of angle to the distribution across the rod. Just feeding the cord and twisting the rod section, guiding with my index finger to give it a nice angled application. Start to feed the same way. Might be able to see it in the video if I give you a little angle. Okay, we've completed the binding on all three sections. You can see the cross pattern. This cross pattern creates that clamp. One twist going one direction, one twist going the other direction, counteracts each other, gives a nice tight on clamp, and helps with straightening and keeping the rod sections nice and straight during the heat treatment process. There's many ways to do your heat treatment. You can use an open flame torch to heat the entire comb and give it a flame look to it. You can use stovepipe and heating, air conditioning, venting with electric strips. I find, again, keeping it simple, easiest method. I go in the iron pipe, a heat gun, some oven thermometers, and you'd be surprised how accurate you can control the temperature just by controlling the air intake on a heat gun. So different rod builders use different recipes. I usually try to go about 350, 375 degrees, 7 minutes with the rod sections facing one direction. I flip them over, put them back in, cook them for an additional 7 minutes.
So I'll go ahead and preheat this. Okay, I've got my oven heated. I've got my rod sections in the mesh. We go for about 7 minutes now. Okay, it's time to flip it. Flip, 7 more minutes. Okay, we've gone for just about another 7 minutes. Actually, I go by smell sometimes too, so you could smell the can. It gets to a certain, I can't explain it to you. Do it a few times, but you can tell the smell when you're getting there. So we've got a nice blonde color going on. I can feel that this rod is hardened already. So I'll just unwrap these now. I'm gonna store them in a rod tube with some moisture absorbing packets to keep them moisture free and dry from now on while we work on the individual strips and actually start planing the taper of our rod. And we're still on our way.